All right, so I started the recording. Yeah, and now I'll start sharing my screen. Thanks so much for reminding me, Atul. All right, so you can see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Great, so this is the second Ask Me Anything session, and we have two brand new CTAs for you. So last time we had Johan, Jacob, and Lawrence. This time we have Praneel and Bibhu. So it's again being hosted by me and by Neha. So I'll introduce myself and then I'll give the floor to the other people joining this session to give a small introduction. So I'm Lilith. I've been working with Salesforce since 2017, and I've been on the journey towards CTA since I think I started my first credential in 2019, and I got my full prerequisites this summer. So it's all brand new, still baby steps there, but it's very exciting to see how many people are on it and to get all this advice. And yeah, the community is really cool. So that's me. Neha?
Hey, hi, this is Neha. I've been here in Salesforce ecosystem from past 7 years, and I've been working with Accenture as associate manager, and I've already completed my prerequisites for CTA now on my journey with path to CTA right now, and same path as what Lilith is, and we are studying together to become what Praneel and Bibhu are today. Yeah. So, on to you, Lilith.
Thank you. Praneel, we want
Yeah,
to give you...
Yeah, sure. Hey, Praneel Pidiketi, around 13 years experience in IT or 6 or 7 in Salesforce. Working currently as a PwC CTO Salesforce in PwC France. I got my CTA before a month, I guess, yeah, on 22nd of September, pretty new. Yeah, I'm here. I'm really happy to, thanks Garo, Johan, Lilith and Neha for organizing this event. And really excited to be a part of this with Bibhu.
Great, thanks, Bibhu.
Hey, hello everyone. This is Bibhu Pati. I'm completely in a different part of the world. I'm in Australia. I work as a practice director. It's more of a CRM practice that I do deal with for a local partner called AF Digital. I have almost close to, I think, 10 years of Salesforce experience by now, as in all the IT experience that I have is entirely in Salesforce. And yeah, just became a CTA in November. It was an exciting journey. And more than happy to help you guys whichever way we can and answer your questions and probably give you support to get into that journey and proceed along with that journey itself.
Great, thanks, guys. So just some logistics. So who or what is SAIMA? So we are a group. We're all preparing for technical architect, and we want to share content and yeah, facilitate maybe small study groups to make room for discussion-based learning. So if you have any ideas you want to join, you want to present, just please reach out. During the sessions, please mute yourself unless you're, of course, one of our lovely presenters, then yeah, please don't mute yourself. So all questions you can ask on chat. We can open it up as well. We already have a list of questions from people who submitted them before, so that's great. If there's anything we can perfect, please, yeah, don't hesitate in giving feedback afterwards, because it's always good to learn. And then, yeah, again, if you're interested in presenting or hosting, we're very happy to have new people join. So definitely looking forward to all interested parties reaching out. And then I think I'm going to stop sharing and let's get to the session. So Neha, you want to take the wheel?
Yeah, sure. So we'll get started with some generic questions for you. So Bibhu and Praneel, please let us know how did you start your journey in Salesforce, and when did you first hear about CTA? And when did you decide that this is something you want to pursue? How was your journey and everything?
Praneel, you want to start or?
Yeah, go ahead, Bibhu.
Okay, cool. as I said, like I've started, I don't know, I was doing sales and all the stuff before I actually joined IT. I joined IT in Infosys in 2011 end, so it's probably around 2012. And that is where all the Salesforce things started. I've immediately got started in Salesforce, as I got trained in Civil CRM, but I actually started working on Salesforce immediately in my first project related to Salesforce, which is Viva. Nevertheless, I saw how it is, how easy it is, and then I was doing more of in the projects I was working as a consultant, but I had no idea about CTA then. Of course, I had no appetite for any certification back then as well. I was doing more of a pre-sales activities, helping getting deals for my company. Then I was working through different projects. It was pretty much, then I moved into different parts of the world. Obviously, I was in India, then I moved into Germany with one of my clients. Once I was there, and then I moved back to Australia from Germany. That is where I actually got to see one of our CTAs. Like I joined Capgemini, and then one of the CTAs named Paul Fail. He's a very decorated CTA over here in Australia. He was working there, and he actually, he worked with me, and then he kind of inspired me that, okay, hey, you can go ahead and do it. And I'm talking about this in 2017, 2016, 17 is when I actually kind of, I knew there is a CTA, but then I was never paying attention to that thing because I always thought I'm a functional guy. I've never done any coding, nothing. And coming from a pharmacy background, having no IT knowledge. So it was like absolutely kind of, it's completely blank. I was not aiming for that at all. I was thinking, okay, this is for the techie guys. That's not for me. Don't consider even that. But he said that, okay, hey, you have all the skills, why are you not appearing and all the stuff. And that is when I actually started off all those domain certifications and all the stuff. And yeah, that is the part when I actually started my journey. I would say 2017. Then I got some help from a few other CTAs, appeared in 2018, failed. Then I could not go back due to some personal reasons. Then thought, okay, 2020, probably everything happening so wonderful in 2020. I said, okay, let's give it a shot. So yeah, again, 2020 around March is when I started actually. And we formed the group, Johan, Jakub, and all. So we formed a group and started studying along with the Flow Republic stuff, of course. Yeah, that is how the journey started, and journey ended as well. But yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, so me, before coming to PwC, I worked with Renault. It's a really big automobile firm. So there for 6 years, I'm working in Salesforce. I started as an architect, then heading the Center of Excellence team. Then I used to work with a couple of program architects, out of which one is preparing for CTA. Then I got to know that, okay, there is a certification called CTA, and it's kind of different from every other certification. And the way he prepared is pretty good. At the time, he used to really do hands-on on all the workflows. The pattern is a bit different, but still the complexity is same. So then it fascinated me because I felt, okay, I'm an architect, but I feel in terms of enterprise architecture, I still have a lot of gaps. I felt maybe this is the right way to really understand the big picture, to really know things in a better way. Okay, not to jump in, Google it to give an answer, but to really have this end-to-end knowledge. So then I started preparing. In 2017, I finished all my prerequisites to take the CTA. Then I understood, okay, so one big thing that's missing is my industry knowledge. Because for 6 to 7 years, I worked with a single client, only one industry, but CTA is all about knowing different modules and clouds and different implementations. So I said, okay, that's one of the reasons why I have to move to a more a partner like PwC than a customer like Renault. So then that really worked. I think like Bibhu, I also work mostly in the pre-sales. So there I got an opportunity to work on a lot of RFPs. In last 2 years, I think I worked more than 30 to 30 RFPs. So that gave me a real knowledge on, okay, you get a requirement, you try to dilute or digest it into a kind of a feasible solution matrix. So that process is kind of similar to CTA prep. So then I said, okay, 2019, I feel okay. Now I know I'm more confident. So I want to take the board. So I took the board in 2019 September, failed 3 sections in the first attempt. Then want to do it again. So I took date on 2020 April, but it got postponed, and because of all the weird things this year. So then it postponed, and it all of a sudden from a physical board it moved to a remote board. Initially, I'm not really comfortable in taking a remote board, but there's no other option. But I went in, and luckily I passed the CTA, so that's how I ended this journey.
Okay, so one thing that we got to know that you both failed in the first attempt. So how did you overcome that, and what exactly did you come to know that this is something that I need to prepare for my next one? How did you make that out?
Bibhu, can I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I think for me, first time the main reason why I failed is lack of kind of experience or knowing what it is exactly. Because I went to the board, I prepared for 3 months before the exam. I did a couple of mocks. I don't have a proper study group like what Bibhu was telling. So I prepared. I the only thing I know is a study guide, and I did my 601. That's it, but nothing more like an experience. Okay, so I talked with a lot of people, CTS, who passed the exam before 2 to 3 years on that particular moment, but the exam is keep on evolving. Uh, when I went when I did my exam, I think in terms of solution it's okay, but in terms of Q&A, I'm not really there. So clearly, when I finished my exam, I know that I will fail. I know in which modules I will fail. So that helped me to plan the next one. That experience of failing the first time or knowing the exam in a more detailed way helped me to build a study plan for the second attempt. I think in those days we don't have such these sessions, where you will get an opportunity to know from experience from recently past CTAs, or you don't know this. This community is kind of luckily now Ladies Be Architects and SAIMA and all these groups are helping people to connect with CTAs. But in those days, it's kind of difficult to find such a group to get experiences from.
I pretty much, I think I really agree on what Praneel said as well. Like when I did it in 2018, when I was preparing for my mocks, I was, when I was giving all those mocks to my CTAs, like, there are CTA, Yanis was there who was working with me. And also I presented to Paul. They were really happy. Like, they could not believe that I did not pass even. Like that was the case. Like that was an because obvious reasons. My mocks were really good and all. But see, the whole thing, if I have to think about what I learned from that mistake, is I did everything, all the preparation and everything were there. The biggest mistake that I did is that I did not have an accountability partner. I did not have a study buddy then. I was studying all alone. And that is the biggest mistake that I did. Like, if I have to see what is the difference that happened this time and that last time, I think that was the biggest difference. And that all makes it. Like when you have a study buddy or a buddies who are equally responsible and are also in the same pathway as you push each other. You push each other to so much that you want to prove to each other that, okay, you know it and you know it much better. That's why you ask questions, difficult questions, and you don't pamper yourself. Like, you don't, pampering each other, right? So what you're doing is that you're making sure that the other person is in difficult situation. And that is exactly what we did also this time around. And I think that is the biggest difference that has happened. Knowledge wise, yes, definitely every time. As in, I think if you ask me now, if I go ahead and prepare for CTA once more, I'll probably again gain some more knowledge. Knowledge wise, I don't think that's going to ever ending. But this is the difference that has made, because I could feel it, that the way I was presenting, the way I was talking to my judges, I had no fear at all when I was talking to them. I had no fear at all about the Q&A. I was straightforward answering because we have had practiced it. And I practiced it so much this time around. And only because of my study buddies. I cannot emphasize the importance of your study buddy.
Got it. So the practice and the confidence that you get after a lot of practice and a lot of non-pampering. Got it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you're very used to grilling, so this is nothing for you guys. You're like, oh, piece of cake.
The thing is that we, as in like when we do our practice, as I said, like we don't pamper each other. We just be straight on face and don't make sure that we're making very difficult for each other. And that is how you learn. As in, if you don't know and you go back and learn that, there is no shame in it. And we discuss, and we have a WhatsApp group, we have a Slack group. We keep on discussing. I think that's how it happened.
So one thing I wanted to ask Praneel, that you appeared for the offline as well as the online test.
Yeah.
So what difference did it make? Like, was it a different experience to appear for?
Yes, it is. Yeah. First thing, the main difference between the physical board and the remote board is the interaction, how you do with the judges. Okay, in the physical board, you see kind of their body language. First thing, they don't really smile, or they don't show acknowledge you when you answer something. But at least you'll understand that they're not really happy with my answer. So okay, now I have to change my answer, something like that. But in the remote board, the main reason why I don't want to take the remote board is this opportunity to really read their body language won't be there. But luckily for me, I think for most of the other candidates too, now the judges are kind of acknowledging, because the lack of body language, they're compensating with a kind of a smile, or saying and nodding their head, or giving some kind of an acknowledgement. So in that part, for me now it's a bit different, but still you can manage to get their feedback and prepare for the next set of questions.
Got it. So we'll quickly move on to the next set of questions that were being asked on the general tips around CTA. So how did you plan your journey to CTA when you don't have the development background? This question was asked from Abhishek Srivastav, and there was another questions from Gwilym Rebman, that coming from a technical background in software, I see quite a lot of CTAs without technical background. Is CTA more focused on high level details than a software architect would be? So I see both of you coming from functional background, right? So how did you make that mindset, not coming from that technical background?
I came from a technical background. I just at least from the last 5 years, I'm not really into implementation or delivery, but still my core is more technical or pure engineering. But yeah, to answer that question, first thing, you get some knowledge by knowing or learning. The second thing is you get some knowledge by doing. I think CTA needs both these experiences, but it doesn't mean that you need technical knowledge. No need to write a component or build something to really do. Mostly where you will be doing is on the OAuth implementation, the identity implementation, or maybe the integration. You want to really jump in, play with the org to see how a platform event works, how an OAuth flow works, how a social sign-on works. Luckily, with all the documentation we have online, you don't need to be an expert, or you don't need to be a techie. But you have to really, you should not shy away from yourself when you see a big piece of code. Get comfortable with it. That will help.
Yeah, I think from technical point of view, you don't have to have that kind of knowledge of entire, you've been writing code for 10 years. That is not necessary. As in, there are people who love doing those coding. So they are developers, they're senior developers. I even know like people who are of age more than 50, they love coding and they do it. It's your passion, right? So if you have a passion about coding, you continue doing it. There is no shame in it, right? Absolutely. You don't have to be a CTA for it. Like you can be a CTA, but then you don't have to be a CTA. CTA is more of a, it's a, how much it's not only just one level of the T. If you think about a T, it's not the leg of the T where you're going deep down. It's breadth and the length. So you're actually looking in both. So you have to go in both the directions. Yes, I have. When I started my career, I never did any coding or anything. I started as a functional, but you do need to understand where code works, where code cannot work, and obviously understanding of the code to that level that you can read somebody's code and tell them what is wrong and what is not wrong. Otherwise, you can probably gain this certification, but you will probably fail in multiple other situations in real life scenario, because there is a lot of expectation that comes with it as well. Like when you are a CTA, you are in the room, there's a lot of expectation that comes in on you. And if you don't know, you probably will fail in other like life situations, and you don't want to do that. So you definitely need to understand code to a large level, because it's a critical component of Salesforce development, right?
Yeah, maybe if I can jump in, because actually within my study group, we were having a discussion about what is an architect and how is a Salesforce architect different than an architect in another technology. And one of the things that we kind of identified there is that as a Salesforce architect, you don't just need to know the technology as in the coding really, but you need to actually know all of the out-of-the-box functionalities, because if you're a good architect, definitely correct me if I'm wrong in this assumption, but in my opinion, if you're a good architect, you don't need code as much. You need to know when to use out of the box and convince also in your solutions to use those to the maximum where possible. Like really understand them and make sure you only go to custom when it's justified. Do you agree?
Yeah, of course. As in that is where I think in Salesforce world there is a lot of debate on it, right? So whether it's justified or not, when it is justified, maybe at this point of time it is justified, or it is in the long term that is going to be justified. And that is the function of an architect, that you think about long term. You don't think about what is going to be justified now. That so you might just look like a simple function that you may just do it now in a simple process builder, but you know that when the scalability comes, that's not going to scale, and you might have to move that to code. And that is where that architect is a difference from a functional normal solution architect or a developer. They would not think about that long term. I think that is the difference. But talking to that point of like how much deep you need to know, think about your house, even house construction. Just forget about CTAs, just house construction. Like architects they do plumber. There are plumbers who know what to do. An architect does design the house, and that is the function of an architect in any context. I think that is how the parallel it goes. So you need to know everything in detail and their limitations, but doesn't need to go into that level of details, which should be somebody else would do. There are developers to do that job.
Yeah, I totally agree with Bibhu. Just to add to that, I think yes, you might not code after doing CTA, or for the CTA you will not be coding, but you should know the perimeter of what is out of the box, what's not. And also when you're designing your solution, try to have this like long-term view into account. Okay, this scalability and also the other concerns that may arise, or the business requirements or the business vision, and try to align all these things so that you won't really end up creating a lot of technical debt. So this is really important as a technical architect to have this overall view.
All right. So, correct. With that, I would like to move to the next set of questions. So what habits people should cultivate on path to CTA, and why?
Yeah,
That's
so
first one, but yeah.
okay, so I'll give a very simple answer to that. It's different for everyone. So, but main thing is you have to, with the knowledge proliferation, get as much knowledge as possible. Get comfortable reading the security guide. At least try to not that you by heart that, but at least to get the gist of out of it, and try to practice the storytelling. Try to take a topic or something. Feel comfortable talking with someone. and try to be precise in terms of your answers. This is the high level. This is what you should really practice.
I think, yeah, from me, I think most important thing is being resilient. Like if you have really thought about it and have, okay, I want to achieve it, just go for it. Like just don't stop yourself because of anything that is failing or anything, because you will, and then I'm not going to tell you all those habits that is required, because you're probably now hearing a lot of people, everybody's talking about what things are required. But I think that is one of the things that I have learned. Being resilient is probably one of the most important thing in this journey, because you will have difficult times, you will have your self-doubts. Invariable that is going to come. There will be a time when you'll think that, okay, hey, I'm not ready for it. Am I really ready to be an architect? You'll be in a situation, like I'm telling you, invariable that will be there. I'll tell you, I have had, after giving so many mocks, I have, even before the last mock that I presented to Yanis, even like probably penultimate mock, I was miserable in it. Like I asked him, should I really cancel this? That was my a question that I asked him. All my study buddies, everybody said that no way you are going to cancel it, because you are really ready. We don't think that you should be stopping it. Yanis also said me the same thing, that okay, no way, you're good, you should go ahead. But that is what is going to happen to you no matter what, because it's a pressure situation. So having that mentality, having that mental strength is probably the most important thing in this entire thing. So start building that habit. It should not affect, this is just an exam. Don't take it too seriously, that it is putting too much pressure on you. And then if something you're failing in a small kind of a thing, that should not push you back a lot. So as long as if you're building your mental strength, I think that is the key thing that you need to do in this.
Yeah, with the how, I think there is also why, as Bibhu mentioned. You should really make sure, or you should ask this question even before preparing your CTA. Why do I really want this CTA? You should justify it both in a personal front and also professional front, because at the end you will end up investing quite a lot of time. And most of the time, especially today, see, you guys are connected on a Sunday, so you're wasting, or you're putting your personal time on it. So it's you have to be ready in investing that time. Second thing is, as Bibu mentioned, you will get bad feedback. Get used to this. People will grill you. People will say that you're not ready, or people will say, you will feel after. Uh, I used to do these mocks with my buddies, and after that, I used to feel like pretty low. Am I that bad? Oh, last week it was okay, but what happened this week? You feel that, but get used to that, and from that, try to prepare an action list, and then you have to work on it. This is an iteration. Yeah, that's it.
Keep doing that again and again. And
Yeah.
yeah, got it. So the next question that came was that what was your major aha moment or moments during the CTA preparation, as in, hey, this was supposed to be that simple, and I used to, keep on complicating it, but there could be more than one.
Yeah, I call them more brownie points, because especially during the mocks, most of the time especially with the buddies, with the small group that we are, sometimes I used to judge, sometimes I used to present. Sometimes when someone is presenting, there are a lot of things, we inspire from. Certain things, how they simplified it. So maybe talking about the language strategy or something, how simple they cover the topics in a very very limited time. Things like that are pretty interesting to inspire from. And yeah, and that's it. And also, I won't say in a single instance this aha moment, but in a long term, when you compare your presentation from the last month with the current presentation, you always see how fine-tuned that became. So you feel confident. Okay, I'm not really going in the right. I'm really going in the right way, kind of a thing. Maybe.
Yeah, I think, and then we just joke about it in our study group again, like whether in any mock scenario, whether you have used Web to Lead and Chatter or not, like if you have used that, that is an aha moment for us. Like, yes, we have used it. Like I know it's a funny thing, but then we talk about it and then we ask, have you used this web to lead or chatter or not? Like if you have used it, then yes, that's an aha moment. But jokes apart, like normally what happens is that the aha moment actually throughout the preparation is when you actually get the result. That is the most, I think, aha moment. Nothing else. Like you will always be in doubt. I would never say that there was an aha moment that, hey, I'm ready for it, I'm going for it. You will probably never be there. Like if I say that, okay, I had an aha moment. I was like, okay, one day morning I woke up and then I said, yes, I'm ready for CTA. That would be a pure lie. I'll tell you, till the time you get your results, you would probably not get an aha moment that, okay, hey, I'm kind of, I don't know, at least that was for me. I was still in doubt till the last minute. Even if I did everything that was good, but I still had doubts till the end. So yeah, I think that was throughout the journey, I think that was the aha moment. And that was, I think, probably the most satisfying moment in my life.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, post exam, I think, yes, getting the result is the best aha moment I can think of. Yes.
But if I understand also through the journey, you're acquiring so much more knowledge. So each time you learn more and more and more, but each time I think also you become aware of how much more knowledge there is that you don't know. And that is kind of a humbling experience, no? That every time you go and you talk to all these smart people, because that's what you do during this journey, you discover that there are so many smart people out there. And you talk to them and you find your own gaps. And yeah, I think it's a good experience, but also it's very humbling because you know how much you don't know, right?
Absolutely. I think another really a big gain out of it, apart from obviously the certification, is the community that you get access to and then get to talk to so many good people. I think that's priceless. And then it doesn't matter what the result is. As I said, from the last time to this time, last time I probably hardly spoke to anyone, but this time around I was in Australia. All my three buddies was in Europe. So we were trying very hard to manage our time, do our kind of mocks and all the stuff. That's kind of priceless. I think all our partners were envious that we are spending more time with each other like that. So it was really priceless. I think that is probably, I know, if I have to call an aha moment, I think that was the aha moment, to get to know those people and then getting success out of each other.
Yeah, so speaking about getting to know your mentors or your group buddies, there's a question in the chat from Rupa that how do we get any mentors or a mock buddy for our preparation?
As in, see, for us, as in Praneel and me both, we joined Flow Republic, so we got access to more kind of CTAs who were doing our mentor. But I think now, at least with me, Johan and Jakub, we all are, we have actually at least joined that nonprofit cause where we are also trying to help others. And I'm pretty sure there are other CTAs as well. They're ready to help. As in, throughout my journey, also they helped me reach out to people through LinkedIn. And that is what I did. If you don't get it, like not everybody will be in a position to help you mentoring throughout. But if your organization can give, nothing like it. If you can afford and go into Flow Republic, nothing like it. That's probably a consistent thing. Otherwise, get someone from LinkedIn, reach out to them and see if anyone can be available for you and then help you with this journey. But definitely get a mentor, because that's definitely required, along with the accountability partner. It's accountability partner is not enough. Getting a mentor is also is I think is definitely a good thing. You need that in your journey.
Yes, exactly. I think my talking about the buddies, for me, I got an opportunity to pick or talk with a couple of people who take CTA, who are planning to take a CTA exam, is in the 601 course. There, first time I saw people how they are preparing and what exactly is their strategy and what exactly is their experience. And so I started putting a baseline. Okay, I'm not really that bad. So okay, so or else I sometimes I feel, okay, maybe I don't have this experience comparing with these people. Then I started talking with these people. I took my 601 in 2019 in London. So then I met a couple of people. So from then we created a Slack group. So that's how you start a conversation. Out of which maybe you start this conversation with 5 or 6 people, but then you will only have 1 or 2 who are really serious like you, serious and also kind of parallel timeline with yours. So talk with them, make sure that they're as serious as you. That's one of the prerequisites. And then if they are, so then jump in and work with them. That's about the buddies. Talking about the mentors, again, there are multiple ways to find a mentor. If your company is having a program, jump in. If they're ready to pay, invest on a program like Pro Republic, go ahead. Or else, I think as much as the Flow Republic, for me, the help came from external CTAs. I used to really ping them. I used to say, hey, can you please do a mock with me? They're ready to do this mock. And also a couple of people, when they saw the mock, when they see that you're really ready and the only thing missing is bits and pieces, they're happy to really uh, discuss with you in detail or else pass you some kind of a materials or their artifacts or whatever it is. People, I think most of the time we're shy to ask. People are ready to help. That's very important because if you don't have access to any CTA, just go ahead, look in the LinkedIn, try to ping them, tell your problem. Like, okay, so um, tell where you are in the CTA preparation. Send them a couple of things. If they ask, hey, show me your artifact, that's what I do. Hey, send your artifacts. With the artifacts, I kind of do an assessment. Hey, this person is ready, really there, or no, he's not yet there. So based on that, if you're really serious, people are ready to help. That's how you can also find mentors. So it is just to say that if you don't get access to these programs, CTA programs, don't worry. You people are there ready to help. Just try to find them. Uh, I said the CTAs are pretty busy, so don't only concentrate or talk with one person. Try to ping a couple of CTAs. I'm sure that one will come back to you.
And I think a word of caution, as an at least from my side on that, because I also have had done a similar thing. Even if I had mentors, I have reached out to other CTAs, and then obviously I got response from few of them that, okay, hey, I don't have time. And that is obvious, right? Everybody has their life, their personal life, their professional life, and then they have time. They can't speak to you, but there are few also that who responded to me and spoke to me. Uh, the only thing that you should be cautious about, if you don't have a kind of a regular mentor, don't fall for, as in that, again, this is my opinion, you might, everybody else will have a different opinion on it. Don't fall for what they are saying, because everybody has a different outlook to the same thing. So even if you have a structure, you show it to someone, they will give one advice. If you go to the next CTA, they will give you another advice. uh, it's not about the solution, about the structure. The solution probably would be like, you will be there. I don't think you, if somebody is going for a review board, they would be really good already to prepare a solution. There will only be fine tuning here and there, but the structure, you'll get a lot of advice from a lot of people. Get them, use according to your mind. Don't go by anybody else's template or anything like that. If you go by anybody else's method, then you're going to be in a difficult situation, is what I feel. You listen to all of them, concise it, digest it, and then make your own, rather than copying someone else or looking at it. Somebody has given you advice and then you just want to go ahead with it without justifying it to yourself that, okay, you are actually okay to go ahead with that structure. So listen to all, but implement your or do your own, is what my agenda was and my motto was there entirely. I've listened to everybody and they gave their advice. Whatever is good, I take it, and whatever is something that I cannot digest, I just excrete it.
Yeah, I think as we was telling you, you should have a baseline, and this goes into preparation strategy. So mostly once you build this structure, hey, this is my structure. So this is how, maybe you take scorecard as a reference, and you see this is what they're expecting. This is my structure, and in each of these artifacts, this is what I should be talking about, so that I can cover everything. So that will be a baseline. Okay, so you should build it based on your pace, your comfort, and your own narrative. Once you have it, from initial baseline till the last final day of the exam, it should keep on iterating. Okay, as mentioned before, my structure kind of drastically changed in the last 3 months because I'm talking with a couple of people. People are giving feedback. On top of feedback, I'm changing my structure, everything. But it all should happen based on your convenience and your comfort. Yeah.
Makes sense. So moving on to next question. As a CTA and occasional judge on mock review boards, are there any things you have seen people do that you would advise against, such as spending time on the wrong type of preparation or faulty design decisions? I think you already answered that in terms of talking to people, but in terms of looking at faulty designs or decisions, have you seen anything of that sort?
I think one of the key things.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the key things that you invariably need to do is that do take an assumptions. And I think taking assumptions to make your life simple is probably one of the things that people don't do. People all, and that is what I've seen, like unnecessarily don't complicate the data model. The situations are usually very simple. And because there are so many requirements, they want you to go, they don't ask you a very complicated situation where you have kind of 10 or 15 custom objects to design and all the stuff, right? So just don't overcomplicate, take simple assumptions. If something can be solved with a simple assumptions, take that. And people actually fall into that trap, not taking those simple assumptions. I think one of the key things that I've seen.
Yeah, in line with you, Bibhu, I think I used to have this thumbline. Whenever your solution is overcomplicating, something is wrong. You have to simplify it. And also sometimes we assume something, maybe we'll not write it there. Writing all the assumptions in a slide or in one of the artifact is very, very important, because that's how you really connect the dots. You have it in your brain, because that's what we as an architects do. Most of the time we work with a client or on a project. Most of the time people don't challenge you. So you give a solution without kind of rational, and it works in day-to-day life, because they kind of trust you, they saw your other solutions, and it goes like that. But in the exam, you kind of need a justification for everything. And also some requirements are not complete. You have to fill them up, you have to connect it, because I thought of it, it might be this, so my solution or my approach is this, something. So you have to always have this assumption, like a bridge between these bridging these missing gaps. That's one thing. And second thing I felt, especially, is with the community written scenarios. There are a lot of scenarios that you can find other than in the architect community. These scenarios will help you to really go in deep into the solution, to really trick your brain and all. But in the last 2 months before your CTA exam, try to avoid these things. I think again these things are overcomplicated. I think they stretch, maybe they focus on security, let's say, they stretch kind of too long. But in the real exam, the structure is kind of different. So in the last 2 months before the exam, try to do the real CTA scenarios that are available in the Trailhead community, so that your brain get used to this simple structure. So you won't overcomplicate things. You won't overthink on certain aspects.
Yeah, I think on that, there's so many variety of scenarios available on the community. It helps you to at least find your gaps. So do them to find your gaps, fill those gaps, and then finally, when you're actually ready for your board, before that, just do those CTA scenarios that is available in, let's say, in Trailhead, because simplicity is the key. Don't think that it's a CTA exam. That's why it'll be going to be really challenging and all. Yes, it is challenging because of the time, because of the judges, because of the the pressure that you probably would have built on yourself, but it is actually not that complicated. So try to think that it is a simple solution. If something is really simple, then it is simple. Assume that. I don't think that, okay, hey, I'm doing something wrong. And people do that. People think that first they will think, hey, this is a simple opportunity. But hey, am I actually using opportunity? It cannot be that simple. It's a CTA. No, it is not. It is fine. It can take as a simple solution to a simple solution. I think that is what people don't do. And I also was a kind of a culprit of not doing that initially. But I think I learned it over the period of time. I definitely advise people against it not doing it. So it's just make sure that you treat the requirement as simple as it is possible.
Got it. And when you write the assumptions during your solutions, during the Q&A, do they tweak your assumptions and try to ask different questions around it?
Possible, yeah, they might. As in, you should, as in that's how they are doing it, right? So there is an element in your study guide if you look at how they're handling the roadblocks. So what do you mean by roadblock? That is where they will come in, like, okay, they will throw your assumptions to a toss and then say that, okay, hey, your assumption is completely wrong. This is your assumption. So it's all intent. What they want to see is that how you thought about when you took an assumption to derive a solution, whether you have thought about the other option or not is what they're wanting to understand. So they might ask you that, okay, your assumption is, let's say your assumption is not correct. What would you do? Let's say this is a situation. So possible. Yes, absolutely. But in that sense, like, you just need to be careful that you're not over consuming time. You're stating your assumption. Okay, if this assumption is not correct, this is what the options are, this is what the solution is, I would recommend this, like, and be strong in your opinion, be strong in your recommendation. Okay, if my assumption is not correct, this is what I would recommend.
It has to be crisp.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't give
I think
options.
yes. So on top of that, I think yes, what they're looking for is your thought process. Your assumption always can take you to different places. Okay, the same assumption, if you tweak it, it will take you to a different place. So what judges want to know is whether his condition is right or not. What is his thought process if it changed? How comfortable is he in explaining the other possibilities? So that you should justify. Even when you're writing the assumption, you should have it in mind, not during the Q&A. So when you're writing the assumption, okay, I'm assuming this. What other alternative can I think of? Something like that.
And that is something you can definitely practice with your buddies, and that is exactly what I'm saying. Like, this is what we practiced, literally this is what we practiced, and then we cross question that to each other all the time. Okay, whatever your assumption, because if you have four people in the same journey, they will all have four different assumptions in the same requirement. So you get to know, okay, what other possible assumptions can come and what possible assumptions that judges could have. So always think, put yourself into judge's shoe and think that, okay, this is my solution, what they might come with, like all those things. If you think about that and one step ahead, they are going to ask you the question that you want and you are already prepared for it.
Yeah, and also when you're doing this with your buddies, what we used to do is one will be presenting. After that, there will be Q&A. Then we'll give the feedback, and post feedback we'll be talking about the solutioning. Where we used to sometimes uh, talk on one scenario for like more than 3 hours, literally going into the nitty-gritty details. What if this is what they're thinking? Sometimes we're overcomplicating, but that's good. When you're really stretching your brain, when you're really trying to get knowledge, you can overcomplicate things. So that will help. Having the right set of buddies will really help.
So another set of questions are with respect to CTA career. So what they ask is that oftentimes some consultants and architects find it difficult to effectively push back on customer request or requirement. So what steps do you take to find the right way to communicate why an executive is wrong about how they want the implementation on a platform and why your advice will save them in a long run?
I think let me answer that. If I don't get the question well, if you can align me.
Yeah.
So I think it's about the rationale. Even if it is an executive, that's what we do day to day, even with CTA or without CTA. CTA will help them to trust you a bit more if they know what CTA is. But or else always you do in your day to day. Try to give a rationale to it, not kind of contradict to whatever they are saying, because they are right in their own way because they know the business very well. They know the requirement well, but they don't know how to map it to a solution. So that's where you come into play. First thing, showcase why it is important, the other alternatives, and in a long term, again, the one that we talked before, sometimes the solution will work, but in a long term, in a more scalable perspective, or in terms of security, or in terms of limitations of what Salesforce platform can provide, it might not be good. It might not be technically right, or it might not be contractually right. So these elements you have to really explain to the executives with a rationale. That's the only way.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. And the thing is that they don't know you are a technical architect, or let's say you are a technical lead, or whatever role you're playing. You have more knowledge of Salesforce than them. They have the business knowledge. So you have to. You are the. That's why they have taken you as a trusted advisor. And I think uh, you need to be good at having difficult conversations, and that is, I think, one of the key things or key skills that is required, how you're handling those difficult conversations, uh, and having your standing with your ground. Is that if you know your concepts, if you know what Salesforce can do, cannot do, and there are two fine lines of communicating something, whether you're being aggressive or whether you're being assertive in that. That's what it matters. And I think that is the skills that you develop over the period of time when you talk to more and more executives. And the voice, the tone modulation, the writing of your emails, everything matters. uh, how you're presenting is the key. I think we all have had those moments where we have had issues with what executive is asking, but you triumph the situation by making the right decision, by communicating the limitations of Salesforce platform, or why you are doing one thing over the other. So what I normally do is that when I prepare my documents, I always have my key design decisions from the day one, like, okay, why I'm taking one decision over the other, why am I using B2B account or why am I using person account, let's say an example. I have that key design decision in my solution design document from day one, so that even if I'm not an architect anymore on that project, because most of you are working for consulting company, let's say, and you would work on something and then you leave that project and somebody else will come in and they will question your design decisions. And this is what helps, that, okay, hey, this is the reason why you have taken one decision over the other, considering that particular time situation. Because the executive then had a different opinion, different requirement, but the executive afterwards might have a different requirement. So yeah, it is all about communicating that by looking at the Salesforce platform limitations, I think. I hope I answered that question without complicating it too much.
No, that was on point, both of you. So I would move on to the another set of questions, that is with respect to the content of the CTA that we prepare. So one question from Sandesh is that I have been going through the official Salesforce documentation for SSO, OAuth, JWT, but I don't think it is sufficient to understand the core process. Any suggestion for external documentation or blog or YouTube video that would be helpful?
I think on this OAuth flows, Salesforce documents are quite exhaustive. I don't know if it is really, really helpful. If you can't understand that, probably my thought process would be that you have not implemented it. It's probably the best way to learn it is go and do hands-on. I think my mentors told me I did not take that seriously first time enough, as in not seriously, but then I did not get a chance to implement everything. I probably had done most of them, but then I did not implement everything. But second time around, I did not do that mistake. I did everything on my own. Like, yes, literally go set up your sandbox, set up everything, Postman or whatever you need. Just do it. That is the best way to learn. Apart from that, if you really need to look at a blog, Salesforce contents are exhaustive. But apart from that, I think look at Lawrence Cloud Sundial. I think that is one of my favorite. I probably looked at it. It's very good one. And also Yanis had written a very good OAuth flow blog on LinkedIn. So if you want to go and have a look into that as well. So those two are really, really good on OAuth flows apart from Salesforce documentation. But as I said,
Yeah,
hands-on,
BB,
hands-on, hands-on.
yeah, BB, you're spot on that. I think yes. What I used to do is to jump in. Let's say if we're talking about SSO, SAML. Okay, so SAML. What is SAML? Jump in. Maybe you have a quick introduction of what SAML is. Sometimes you work with SAML and you still don't know the difference between SAML or and basic things. Start asking all stupid questions and try to Google them. Especially for OAuth and SAMLs, I found quite a lot of good articles um, in Medium or in a lot of other other places, or small YouTube videos, especially about the security, the 2 SSL and all. They kind of simplified it. At least you take that approach, and then maybe you come back and see the Salesforce documentation, and then it kind of makes sense. Or again, as Bibhu mentioned, Laurent's flows. I think they became kind of a Bible now. So we have to use them. On top of it, you can add more details to it, but that's a really good place to start with.
Yeah, and don't ever try to mock up. As in, I know probably nobody would, but then don't ever try to mock up. If you mock up, you're going to be in difficult situation. You need to understand it really well, and because believe me, you might get asked questions like anything on that. And in my kind of board, I was literally asked a lot of questions on flows. So yeah, you need to be prepared for any eventualities. So if you don't understand, then you're going to be in a difficult situation. So understand it, and on top of it, and best way to understand is hands-on, as I said, like just do it.
Yeah, hands-on also, not in a structured way. Try to see if, let's say, if you build a Canvas application and you see a couple of configuration you're never touching, you just go ahead and play with it. Know everything. Know why is it there. Maybe a Canvas lifecycle handler. Normally in my real life, I never used it, but I have to really jump in, create something. Initially, it won't work. Then understand, see the documentation, how it's supposed to work, and then try to make it work. And all these things, that's how you go into the nitty-gritty details in the exam, especially when it comes to security, when it comes to these flows, identification, access, identity and access. They expect you to go into that detail, and also in integration, maybe payment flow, or DocuSign. They really expect you to visualize that and talk. When you, as Bibhu was referring, if you mug up, they just will easily know. So then they will ask you one follow-up question, and you're done. So it's good to do hands-on. Also play with that. So not only in one way, try to ask all stupid questions and try to see how can I really connect two different talks, make your own use cases and try to make them work. And if they doesn't work, try to justify why it's not working.
Yeah, as they say, curiosity is the key. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So the next question from Karan is regarding big data storage. What possible use cases should drive towards selecting one of these? Heroku Postgres versus big objects versus data warehouses?
I say depends on the use case. There's no one shoe fits all solution here because this comes under the large data volume. You have to have a large data volume strategy. Just again comparing it. So large data volume, you have to know in and out when to go with external storage, what is your archiving strategy or purging strategy. So if you have to do it, how this data should be used. Is it for reporting or will it be used in real time, maybe at an account level to see the archived case for some legal purpose or some compliance or everything. So you have to see the requirement in detail end to end. And then you have to make this decision matrix. Okay, when to use big object. Okay, for so and so reason, I have to use big object. So you have to have this kind of a decision matrix, and based on the use case, you find the right solution. Vibhu?
I think you need to understand the pros and cons of each of the approach and then fit them into the requirement. See, big objects, you need to know, okay, how the indexing works, what are the limitations of this indexing. And it is obviously on the platform and doesn't have an UI. So how are you going to make sure that the UI is going to work on it? So there is not, as in probably in any problem statement, there is not a correct or wrong answer. It is about justification and about how much you know. Let's say Heroku Postgres versus a data warehouse. If I have to, let's say, archive some large data volume and do some deletion and all the stuff, then I can do that either, right? I can use Heroku Postgres or data warehouse. If I am using Heroku Postgres and I am using Heroku Connect, then expect questions from that, and they would expect, or probably expect from you that, okay, you know how Heroku Connect works, how Heroku Postgres works, because you have chosen something within Salesforce ecosystem, then they would expect you to know the details of it, like if you're choosing it. And if you are not, then I probably would go ahead with data warehouse solution because I'm not comfortable with Heroku Postgres, I probably would use just my ETL to do an archiving into data warehouse solution. Again, saying so, whether you have any other use case, like are you talking about any public facing mobile platform that will be running on Heroku? Where is there any other use case that is required Heroku? Or in that scenario itself, is there already a data warehouse that exists? If a data warehouse exists, why are you introducing Heroku just for a data archiving purpose? Are you overkilling? Think about all those aspects. And big objects is obviously it's on platform. You need to think about the limitations, whether you know all those limitations of big objects. What are the, as I said, like how you can archive data into big objects, how you can unarchive data from big objects. I think that is what you need to just consider. And there is no right or wrong answer in this. Make sure that you justify. And there is a nice trailhead that I did. I don't remember the exact link of it. I think I've shared it. It should be there in my bookmark. I'll try to find it and send it across. There is a nice structure, like, okay, when to go, when, like, when you're talking about large data volume, how you're going to have that into big objects, how you're going to use Heroku, how you're going to use Einstein Analytics, or probably Tableau CRM now, there is a nice article, and there is a very good picture in it as well. It talks about the different questions that you need to ask. Okay, is it requiring me to have a mobile platform? Is it requiring me to get the data back into Salesforce? Is it requiring me to just do a reporting? So there is a very good flow, step-by-step flow in that. It will give you a very good idea if you have not formed an opinion yet on it. So I think that is one of the things that you need to look at.
All right. Yes. So there was another question with respect to the governance, that what are the best practices for setting up an architectural governance in a shared Salesforce org?
When you say shared Salesforce org, is it multi-org scenario, something like that?
Yes.
I think, yeah, that
Okay.
or another solution or another reason could be that you have different teams working in one org.
Okay, it's more governance question. Okay. Yeah, I think for that you already have these governance models like hybrid, I think single org, multi-org, and there are a couple of other things. You have to again tie them back with the requirement. Maybe I don't really get the question really well, but if the question is really you have multiple teams working with a single org or multiple teams with multiple orgs, you have to really have a proper streamlined process in order to bring the development from these developers, test it in a better way, send it to the one or multiple orgs. So it's literally talking about your environment strategy and your release management strategy. So these two things you have to clearly justify: the need for a branching strategy, the need for a proper testing methodology, and try to even the conflict management maybe and the version management, all these things. So you have to talk about that to justify your approach. Bibhu?
Yeah, I think when you're talking about a shared Salesforce org, I'm assuming that it's probably a different business units. They are also using the same Salesforce org. And that is where you're talking about your architectural governance. I'm not only talking about only the architecture review board or those change management board or anything like that. You'll have to think about a wider perspective of the governance, like who is my executive sponsor. So you'll have to start from there and think till the bottom of like your developer. So how you're going to say, like, who is your executive sponsor, who is your steering committee? And it's just don't use those terminologies. Like you need to think about okay, what role each of those units or each of those bodies they are going to play in the requirement. And it again depends on your requirement. If your requirement kind of ask for in a solution where you need to talk about executive committee or not is important. If it doesn't, you don't have to. So in a shared space, very likely that you would require executive committee, executive sponsors, and then you have a steering committee because there will be multiple teams. So potential chances of conflicts. So you need to have those someone at the level of sponsor who need to kind of resolve those. Like, it's the question itself is a kind of a very much broad question, so I can't narrow down the answer here. It really depends on that scenario, I would say. And you need to think about all the aspects. What is the structure of implementation, whether it's a service implementation, a sales implementation, or both the implementation, whether there is a cross team that they need to be trained, whether you need to take into consideration of an external system which is not performing, so whether you need to do a performance testing, everything. I think you need to think about a lot, which is probably, I would not be making any kind of justice by just saying one line to this particular question, I guess.
So if I understand correctly, you have different frameworks that, are like the theory that could be applicable, but in the end, how you use them really depends on the situation that you have at hand, the requirements, the stakeholders. So that is what you're saying. You have to fill it in, tie it back to the requirements, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You just need to be clear, and that comes with your experience. I highly recommend get into those experience, because reading something and not having an experience, you may or may not pass. I don't, that's a different story, but experience carries forward with you. And if you actually have been in that situation, you've been part of a steering committee, you have been part of a COE already, then that gives you the exposure of the business outlook. People tend to focus too much on Salesforce. They forget about the business. And I think that is one of the key things you should never forget. Have your business hat on, forget about Salesforce. When it is a CTA exam, don't only consider it on only Salesforce. You have to have your business hat on. Think as a business person, think as like what is my UX? My UX is important to me. My Salesforce Lightning Web Component is not important. How am I going to justify UX is important as a business. So that is, I think, two things that you need to take into consideration, and the governance falls into that bucket. Like, how are you thinking as a business in that sense?
Great. So another question that came up is what is the best way to audit an org and best way to present the results for both technical and non-technical alike? Should we be using Clayton tool, for example, Plus or any optimizer or health check report, etc.? Or what are your views on how do you audit and present an org?
As in day-to-day life, what I do, I have my own template. I don't use any of them. I have my own template. And I think when you prepare for a CTA or prepare for this kind of exams, you become a master of all those things, preparing templates. So you prepare your own template and talk your own language. I do look at optimizer and health check report once in a while. Obviously, that's a very good helpful tool, but that to be very honest, that doesn't explain everything to the level of details that actually require when you need to communicate to the client. So you need to talk about, okay, what is wrong, what is not wrong, and also in that sense, you need to have a kind of ROIs again. Why should they do what? All those things you need to think about and prepare your own template. And I never use all these tools. To be honest, I use my own PPT template which I have, and that's how I communicate to my clients.
Yeah, same. I think for me, the why is more important here. Why are we doing the audit? What exactly are we focusing on? Based on that, maybe sometimes I use these tools, the health check or anything, to get the details and put them in a different format, but the metrics will be different. So what exactly are we trying to get out of this R? So and again, the auditing changes because in day to day, we do quite a lot of audit. Sometimes it's a simple audit that takes one day. It can also take a couple of weeks to really get the detail, mash it up, and to really compare it with something or the baseline. And that baseline will also change from one company to other based on the compliances. So again, you have to build your own tailor-made template or report based on the requirement.
Got it. So the next set of questions is with respect to the preparation. As in, what advice would you give to the new study groups, or what structure they should have, and what content they should cover on their daily sessions, and how they should be organizing their sessions?
So that's a tricky one, that will take a while to talk about, but at least I'll quickly give the baseline. Okay, Bibu, just give your perspective on that, and you can add detail. For me, two important things is to really have a steady plan, like what to study, when to study, how much time you can put in. That's like even before thinking of what you know, what you don't know. Important thing is your commitment. Second thing is your unconditional will to stick to that. Planning is different, doing is different. First of all, you commit that, okay, maybe I can spend 10 hours every week. Then stick to the 10 hours. And then slowly you'll understand after 3 weeks, okay, if this is the pace I'm doing, maybe I need 3 months, I need 4 months or 5 months. That plan will come. So, but on a high level, these are the two elements you should start with. People.
I think again, I go back to business mindset. Think about your COE. This is your COE. What is your structure of your COE? I think my study group as a COE, if my COE is good, I get success. Like I'm not going to name, but then all of us almost are CTA now, and that is why it is. It's because of your structure. Like you get people, I think, like-minded people, of course, but then also get different perspective. We have had in our group, we have had somebody who has experience of enterprise architecture. I had experience of working across multiple consulting companies, multiple projects, enterprise projects. We have had a person who is from business side, and we have had a person who is really good in development technically. So like 4 people, think about that. You're getting 4 people's mind in one group. Like you don't have to know everything. You get those 3 other perspectives, which you don't have, you get it from others. So that is as it for me, I think for us, all 4 of us, it just happened that we got each other. It may or may not happen for you, but then if you're consciously choosing your people and all, try to get, if you can get, like getting someone with as exactly similar knowledge as yours, I don't know how much benefit you're going to get. You probably are going to get benefit when somebody is completely coming from a different perspective to you, and that is how you will get the challenges. That is how they will give you different perspective. That is how you will learn new things which you don't know, or they will learn which you know. I would think in that aspect. Yeah, I was just probably lucky to get into that group, and then we got at each other. But yeah, if you're really looking for a study group and then trying to prepare for it, I think that's what you do. And everything else that Praneel said, have a commitment, uh, get your kind of structure ready, spend those times every day. Doesn't matter what happens in the life. If you're committed, and then of course. It doesn't have to be like that serious that okay, if I have to do all of these things. You can take some cheat days, and I used to have many cheat days, like I don't study, and then I had done because I have a small baby as well, so I had to take care of her. So all those things comes in life. So yeah, so don't be be serious, don't be too serious. It's okay, it's just an exam.
Yeah, also I would like to emphasize on the need for this group. People rightly mentioned. I think I saw this happening quite often. When you are in the right group, if one person pass automatically, because other people also pass because they have the right approach. CT is not about really knowledge, but it's about knowledge with the right approach. So once if you one person crack it, it's kind of this the whole group will be using the same kind of a structure and an approach, and the quality is kind of same between all these peers if they work for quite some time. So having or picking this right steady group is very important in your preparation. Sometimes you might find someone, maybe it won't be a right fit. It's okay, just move on, find another person, get used to them, and once you're comfortable, then the magic starts happening.
One of the tips that I've heard a few times is also to make sure that you're on the same rough timeline, that you have dates not that far from each other, so you're in the same kind of phase of preparation, right?
That's important to have the same level of commitment from everyone because we are busy day to day. So when you're right before the exam, you kind of invest more than 8 hours a day, but your study group won't be able to because their exam is quite far and they're unable to put that much time. They're working every day. So this is kind of very important. If the exam dates are pretty close, you can align on the like dedicated time, more concentration, and the real seriousness will come. Because I feel the last 15 days before the exam is very, very critical, not to overdo things at the same time to have the right approach. So, but you should also be lucky, because luckily all your peers will get the dates in and around the same time is also important. We do.
Yeah, I think that's there. As in, like that's probably not in your control in first place. So you apply for your date, but then you don't get the date. So really, as long as they all are committed, okay, I want to go in next 4 months, next 3 months, or whatever that time. That's probably enough. I think getting the dates exactly close enough, it's probably not going to happen all the time. It's the dates are not so easy to get in Salesforce CTAs now.
And so if I hear that some of the activities you did, for example, review boards with actual CTAs, this was more individual, or did you, when you have something like this, open this up to your study group, like, hey guys, I found these CTAs who want to, grill me, join if you want as an audience, or is it really like only them? How should I imagine this?
As part of Flow Republic, as I said, we have, I had CTA, I had a CTA, like Yanis was judging me. We have only the program where you are doing some 6 to 7 mocks over the period of time. That's there. Apart from that, our study group, they were judging. And one of my mate within the study group, he became a CTA quickly. So he was already there to judge us. But saying so, not that way, what you just said, yes, that could be an approach. Why not? That probably is. But the other way is just reach out to the CTA. If they have some time, they will it's spending that 45 minutes or maybe 1 hour, right? So anyone, if they're busy also, they probably they're good people. They're ready to spend some time to help you. So yeah, it doesn't have to be only the study as a group you need to approach. You can approach individually. Study group is just to push each other. They're not going to kind of grind something and put it into your mouth and you drink it, the Kool-Aid. It's about you doing the effort. So yeah, you continue your individuality along with you get the benefit from the study group or the accountability partner for that matter. It doesn't have to be a study group though.
Yeah, Lilith, I think it depends on also the judge and the timing of this mock. If the judge is willing to really help all your buddies, it's good. Sometimes they don't have that much time. What they can do is, hey, quickly jump on a call. I'll give my feedback. And sometimes even that feedback is pretty like quick, short, 10 to 15 minutes max. So it depends on the judge again. And also, especially during my last 3 weeks, I got an opportunity to really have a couple of CTAs. They're willing to judge me, not even judge, kind of Q&A, only doing Q&A because my security is kind of weak. So they accepted that they can do 30 minutes of Q&A. So there are 2 CTAs and 2 from my study group. So all these 4 started really bombarding questions for like 40 minutes, only on security focus, things like that. So you have to have this plan, and also you have to get um, acceptance from all these people. So these people should be willing to help, and they should have the exact same available slot if possible. Yes.
And so you mentioned that you have to have a study plan as a group. So was this like this week we're doing this, or this person is preparing this and we're drilling down, and next week we're doing a review board or a mock, or how did this study plan look like?
This study plan is twofold. First one is your individual study plan, as as we we're talking before. Always you have an individual plan, and also you have a plan as a part of a group or your accountability partner. Your individual plan is like you studying these and these things. You do hands-on on these and these things. All this you have to commit to that parallelly. Because I'll give my approach. I used to work with Jitendra, Varuna, and Sweta. and Piotr, sorry. So we have kind of a weekly Saturday and Sunday session. Saturday we used to do a scenario. Sunday we used to do a knowledge session. We used to take a topic. That topic is decided 1 week before. So we will say that, hey, we will be talking about, let's say, OAuth flow. We'll be talking about SP initiated flow. So 2 hours discussion only on that knowledge part. And on Saturday we'll take a scenario, and one person will be presenting, others will be judging. At last, we'll, as discussed, we'll have feedback and solutioning. Now, ideal plan is the plan is only to sit for 2 hours, but most of the time we end up having like 4 hours or 5 hours conversation on the same topic.
Very similar for you, Bibhu?
Yeah, I think the planning is, yeah, so we have had those Excel sheets as in the spreadsheet where we have named our candidates as like, okay, these are 4 people, let's say, and this is the based on your date of your exam, we plan it, and then we put priorities. Okay, this is the person who is going to present on this Saturday or this Sunday. We all prepare very seriously about it, and we go into it, and then we know who is going to present. So we plan it well in advance. And even we kind of had some interactions with other groups, like Praneel said, like Praneel's group also, we interacted with them. Sometimes we hear from other group, because after a point of time, what happens is that if you have 4 people are studying, like it's 3 months or 4 months, you get to know each other really well, and then suddenly hearing someone else with a different perspective again gives you again one more point to ponder upon, and then kind of add to your kind of bucket. So yeah, so you definitely need to have a plan, and that's what exactly we did. We planned every session every day. We used to meet almost every day, whenever possible, and then time matching. So just have quick discussions about any topics. All those topics were also there. So yeah, each topic we have given equal weightage to each of the topics. No topic is more important than the other, knowing that every topic has their own weightage and all the stuff. So that's how we prepare. Yeah.
And maybe one final question, because we're running out of time, but it's very interesting to pick your guys' brains. But I hear a lot of CTAs have like this many mock reviews that they did, either presenting themselves or preparing as a judge. But do you set milestones on this as well? For example, yeah, this in 2020 by June 2020 we have to have done this many mock reviews, or I don't know. Do you set your KPIs, or maybe not that detailed?
And then not KPI, but at least see to, if you have never done kind of this kind of scenarios and then presentations, you would require at least 6 to 7 mocks to get to a level of talking. And then that is not even, I don't think that is enough even to pass you or anything. I might be kind of oversimplifying, but at least that proper preparation, at least 6 to 7 to get into a structure. And after that, anything that you do, you are adding every scenario you're doing, you're just adding on a top of it. So I think I have been part of probably more than, I don't know, 20, 25, maybe 30 part of it. Like, not that everything I was presenting, I probably have presented only a few, but being part of that itself also gives you a lot of learning. So yeah, it doesn't have to be KPI, but you need to have at least that. Like, people say that it needs at least 7 to 8 or 10. And I think if you have not done approximately 10, you're probably not in a good situation, unless you are a superstar. Like, now there are people superstars, so they would just take in from the day one, and they are really good because they have been doing a lot of architecting. They have done all those things. There are exceptions. I don't know. I'm just talking in like normal human being, like I'm considering myself as a normal human being, Praneel as a normal human being. So yeah, so that's how it is.
No, absolutely. I think we have limited mocks or scenarios, Lilith. I think that's why we have to be very cautious on when exactly we'll be doing. So I use these mocks, especially we only have limited full scenarios. We have a couple of scenarios that are more section retake scenarios, like focusing on security and all, but we have very limited full scenarios. So I use them as a milestone, because before, when I have my study plan, which is 3 months, so I know that after first month is only for knowledge. Literally, I know what to read, to create my cheat sheets, create my flashcards. Everything is done. So without preparing knowledge, without having the right amount of knowledge, don't even think of mock. Really, that's my approach. So when I did my first milestone, which is kind of a knowledge check, and my first baseline of structure baselining my structure, uh, that's not really for the feedback, to get the gist of it. My second milestone is my second scenario where there are two CTAs really judging me. That's my milestone to really validate my knowledge. At that point, if the judges say that, hey, Praneel, you're not ready, we're expecting you to be more one notch up in terms of whatever the section knowledge, then I want to really stop and to add 15 more days to work on that. Luckily, for each milestone, I used to really see, am I ready to go to the next step, or do I have to redo the same thing again? So I used like that, three scenarios like that. At last, in the last 15 days, I used two full scenarios to get the final feedback. Again, as Bibhu said, my last feedback was pretty bad. But again, you work on that. You get to that seriousness when you take the exam. You work in a complete different level.
Okay, so yeah, I think we're going over time, so it's probably best to stop the session, but it has been super interesting. So thank you so much, Praneel. Thank you so much, Bibhu and Neha, for co-hosting. I think everyone really, really enjoyed it and learned a lot.
Yes.
Thank you all. Thanks for the opportunity, and thanks. I want best of luck for all the people who joined today in their preparation, in their CTA preparation.
Thanks all, and really, thanks for hosting us, Lilith and Neha, and I know our great Gaurav as well. So thanks for hosting us, and I really wish everyone all the best who are there in the journey, and I'm sure a lot of you will do really good, and reach out. As in, obviously, I can't promise that I'll be responding to you immediately or anything, but then I try to respond to people and try to help as much as possible because I have got help from the community. So then don't shy away reaching out to others as well. So yeah, if you don't ask for it, you don't get it. So just ask for it.
Exactly.
I think that's a very good advice to end on. So I'll stop the recording here, and thanks again.
Thank you. Have a lovely day.
Thank you all.
Bye.